The Hebrew Bible, the 5 books of Moses. Genesis, chapter 23. And Sarah's life was 127 years, the years of Sarah's life. And Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, which is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn Sarah and to keen for her. And Abraham rose from before his dead, and he spoke to the Hittites, saying, I am a sojourning settler with you. Grant me a burial holding with you, and let me bury my dead now before me. And the Hittites answered Abraham, saying, Pray, hear us, my Lord. You are a prince of God among us. In the pick of our graves bury your dead. No man among us will deny you his grave for burying your dead. And Abraham rose and bowed to the folk of the land, to the Hittites. And he spoke with them, saying, If you have it in your hearts that I should bury my dead now before me, hear me. Entreat for me Ephron, son of Zohar, and let him grant me the cave of Machpelah that belongs to him, which is at the far end of his field. At the full price let him grant it to me in your midst as a burial holding. And Ephron was sitting in the midst of the Hittites, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the Hittites, all the assembled in the gate of his town, saying, Pray, my Lord, hear me. The field I grant you, and the cave that is in it. I grant it to you in full view of my kinfolk. I grant it to you. Bury your dead. And Abraham bowed before the folk of the land, and he spoke to Ephron in the hearing of the folk of the land, saying, If you would but hear me, I give the price of the field, take it from me, and let me bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying, Pray, my Lord, hear me. Land for 400 silver shekels between me and you. What does it come to? Go bury your dead. And Abraham heeded Ephron, and Abraham weighed out to Ephron the silver that he spoke of in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 silver shekels at the merchant's strike weight. And Ephron's field at Machpelah by Mamre, the field and the cave that was in it, and every tree in the field within its boundaries all around passed over to Abraham as a possession, in the full view of the Hittites, all the assembled in the gate of his town. And then Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the Machpelah field by Mamre, which is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that was in it passed over to Abraham as a burial holding from the Hittites. Genesis chapter 24. And Abraham was old, advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said to his servant, elder of his household, who ruled over all things that were his, Put your hand, pray, under my thigh, that I may make you swear by the Lord God of the heavens and God of the earth, that you shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanite in those midst I dwell. But to my land and to my birthplace you shall go, and you shall take a wife for my son, for Isaac. And the servant said to him, Perhaps the woman will not want to come after me to this land. Shall I indeed bring your son back to the land you left? And Abraham said to him, Watch yourself, lest you bring my son back there. The Lord God of the heavens, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my birthplace, and who spoke to me, and who swore to me, saying, To your seed will I give this land. He shall send his messenger before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. And if the woman should not want to go after you, you shall be clear of his vow of mine. Only my son you must not bring back there. And the servant put his hand under Abraham's thigh, and he swore to him concerning this thing. And the servant took 10 camels from his master's camel, with all the bounty of his master in his hand, and he rose and went to Aram Naharaim, to the city of Nahor. And he made the camels kneel outside the city by the well of the water at eventide. the hour when the water-drawing women came out. And he said, Lord God of my master Abraham, pray grant me good speed this day, and do kindness with my master Abraham here. I am poised by the spring of water, and the daughters of the men of the town are coming out to draw water. Let it be that the young woman to whom I say, pray tip down your jug, that I may drink. If she says, drink, and your camels too, I shall water. She it is whom you have marked for your servant, for Isaac. And by this I shall know that you have done kindness with my master. He had barely finished speaking when look, Rebekah was coming out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her jug on her shoulder. And the young woman was very comely to look at, a virgin. No man had known her. And she came down to the spring and filled her jug and came back up. And the servant ran to her and said, pray, let me sip a bit of water from your jug. And she said, drink, my lord. And she hurried and lowered her jug unto her hand and let him drink. And he let him drink his fill and said, for your camels too I shall draw water until they drink their fill. And she hurried and emptied her jug into the trough, and she ran again to the well to draw water, and drew water for all his camels. And the man was staring at her, keeping silent, to know whether the Lord had granted success to his journey. And it happened, when the camels had drunk their fill, that the man took a gold nose ring, a beka in the weight, and 2 bracelets for her arms, 10 gold shekels in weight. And he said, whose daughter are you? Tell me, pray, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? And she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor. And she said to him, we have abundance of bran and feed, as well, and room to spend the night. And the man did obeisance and bowed to the Lord. And he said, blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who has not left off his steadfast kindness toward my master. Me on this journey the Lord led the house of my master's kinsman. And the young woman ran and told her mother's household about these things. And Rebekah had a brother named Laban. And Laban ran out to the man by the spring. And it happened, when he saw the nose ring and the bracelets of his sister's arms, and when he heard the words of Rebekah, his sister, saying those, the man spoke to me. He came up to the man, and look, he was standing over the camels by the spring. And he said, come in, bless the Lord. Why should you stand outside when I have readied the house and a place for the camels? And the man came into the house and unharnessed the camels, and he gave bran and feed to the camel, and water to bathe his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. And food was set before him. But he said, I will not eat until I have spoken my word. And he said, speak. And he said, I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has blessed my master abundantly, and he has grown great. He has given him sheep and cattle and silver and gold, and male and female slaves and camels and donkeys. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master after she had grown old, and he has given him all that he has. And my master made me swear, saying, you shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanite in whose land I dwell, but to my father's house you shall go, and to my clan, and you shall take a wife for my son. And I said to my master, perhaps the woman will not come after me. And he said to me, the Lord in whose presence I have walked shall send his messenger with you, and he shall grant success to your journey. And you shall take a wife for my son from my clan in my father's house. Then you shall be clear of my oath. If you come to my clan and they refuse you, you shall be clear of my oath. And today I came to the spring, and I said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, if you are going to grant success to the journey of which I come Here I am poised by the spring of water, and let it be that the young woman who comes out to draw water, to whom I say, let me drink a bit of water from your jug, and she says to me, drink, and your camels too, I shall draw water. She is the wife that the Lord has marked for my master's son. I had barely finished speaking in my heart, and look, Rebekah was coming out, her jug on her shoulder, and she went down to the spring and drew water, and I said to her, pray, let me drink. And she hurried and tipped down the jug that she carried and said, drink, and your camels too, I shall water. And the camels too she watered. And I asked her, saying, whose daughter are you? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore him. And I put the ring in her nose and the bracelets on her arms, and I did obeisance and bowed to the Lord, and blessed the Lord God of my master Abraham, who guided me on the right way to take the daughter of my master's brother for his son. And so if you are going to act with steadfast kindness toward my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn elsewhere. And Laban and Bethuel answered and said, from the Lord this thing has come. We can speak to you neither good nor evil. Here is Rebekah before you. Take her and go and let her be wife to your master's son, as the Lord has spoken. And it happened, when Abraham's servants heard their words, that he bowed to the ground to the Lord. And the servant took out ornaments of silver and ornaments of gold and garments, and he gave them to Rebekah. And he gave presents to her brother and her mother, and they ate and drank, he and the man who were with him. And they spent the night and rose in the morning, and he said, send me off, that I may go to my master. And her brother and her mother said, let the young woman stay with us 10 days or so, then she may go. And he said to them, do not hold me back when the Lord has granted success to my journey. Send me off, that I may go to my master. And they said, let us call the young woman and ask her for her answer. And they called Rebekah and said to her, will you go with this man? And she said, I will. And they sent off Rebekah, their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his man. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, our sister become hence myriads teeming. May your seed take hold of the gate of its foes. And Rebekah rose with her young women, and they mounted the camels and went after the man. And the servant took Rebekah and went off. And Isaac had come from the approach to Beer-lahai-roi, as she has dwelling in the Negeb region. And Isaac went out to stroll in the field toward evening, and he raised his eyes, saw, and look, camels were coming. And Rebekah raised her eyes and saw Isaac, and she alighted from the camel. And she said to the servant, who is this man walking through the field towards us? And the servant said, he is my master. And she took her veil and covered her face. And the servant recounted to Isaac all the things he had done. And Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah his mother, and took Rebekah as wife. And he loved her. And Isaac was consoled after his mother's death.